Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to this real important press conference with regards to the MTA tax. Before we get started, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if Senator Graff, if you can lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a brief moment of silence for those troops that are deployed overseas right now and their families. Thank you. The National Anthem is going to be sung by Marty Hirschhorn. Marty, if you could come forward.
No.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Marty. So we're here today to talk about the MTA payroll tax. We have a bunch of speakers, a lot of different perspectives, because this tax affects all of us in so many different ways, whether it be through school districts, businesses, hospitals, non-for-profits, local governments. We're all affected by this tax. It's a new day in Albany. Those were my words back in January for my first press conference as a state senator. It was that day that I introduced legislation which was passed requiring a constitutional amendment that in order to increase taxes or fees, you need a 2/3 supermajority as opposed to the current majority as it stands today. Since that day, I co-sponsored legislation for a 2% property tax cap, the governor's program bill which the state Senate passed, the Specialist Thomas J. Woolworth Military Dignity Act which I introduced, which passed the state Senate unanimously. Senator Murray is carrying that legislation in the State Assembly. This budget that was just enacted a week or two ago. For the first time in 28 years, the state Senate passed an early budget. For the first time in 15 years, it cut spending. It cut taxes. It closed a $10 billion budget deficit. And for the following year, which was a $15 billion deficit, we closed it to $2 billion. During my campaign, I pledged to repeal the saltwater fishing licensing fee. I thought that if you are dropping a line in the Great South Bay and elsewhere, you You shouldn't have to get a license and pay a fee to go saltwater fishing. And I'm proud to say that we accomplished that and we got that repealed. I spent my first 100 days in office talking to as many people as possible about repealing the MTA payroll tax. My priority of effort has been based on coalition building and fact-finding. And we have made substantial and necessary progress. I have to say up front that Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos has been a great ally in my efforts. On March 15th, 2011, the State Senate in our one-house budget resolution did two things with regards to the MTA and the payroll tax. One is that we included a provision that within 60 days, a full top-down forensic audit would be conducted of the MTA. And second, with regards to schools for public and non-public, there was a repeal. It should have been a simple accounting, because schools pay the MTA tax and then get paid back. Others did not see it in the same light, the same way that the Senate did, and these two items did not make it into the final budget agreement with the Assembly and the Governor. Going forward, I'm hopeful that Governor Cuomo will be a partner in our efforts to repeal this burdensome and ill-conceived tax. My constituents have my commitment through the remainder of this term. As long as this MTA tax is in place, I will fight day in and day out for its repeal. I've identified an important reality. Albany will not repeal this tax if it is going to blow a $1.4 billion hole wide open in the MTA's budget. The solution must be accountability in action to further address specifically the MTA's inefficiencies so that the MTA can fund its operations without so much reliance on taxpayer-funded bailout funds like the MTA tax. As a member of the Senate Transportation Committee, I have pledged my full support to Senator Chuck Fuschillo, who is the chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee, who has been working tirelessly on the capital funding needs to keep the Long Island Railroad, buses, subways, bridges, and more running for millions of New Yorkers. He has inherited a $10 billion deficit in the capital program funding. I've been working hard to identify MTA organizational reforms and operational cost savings. My list has grown longer each day and week. These include public-private partnerships, real estate consolidations which are now being pursued, cashless tolls, which is a change that is now underway, administrative and management level staffing efficiencies, reduced overtime expenses, reduced reliance on outside litigation costs, and so much more. Through the examinations of revenues and efficiencies, no matter how large or how small, we must find a balance that will allow us to get this tax repealed responsibly. Audits that are more thorough. As I mentioned in the Senate's one-house budget resolution we included that provision. The Senate's, which would have gotten this started within 60 days. It was the Assembly Democratic leadership of the State Assembly that would not go along with this. This must be further pursued. Public hearings. On May 5th, the Investigations and Government Operations Committee, chaired by Senator Carl Marcelino, will be conducting a hearing of the MTA. I'll be participating in this hearing as a member of the Investigations and Government Operations Committee, and this is another further step in our efforts to get this tax repealed, and I applaud Senator Marcelino on his efforts. We have set up an online petition at our website. The Senate's website is nysenate.gov. And I ask you to forward it to friends and colleagues to show support, not only here in Suffolk County, but Nassau, throughout the 12-county region, and throughout New York for its repeal. I want to close with a few important points. We need your support. The MTA payroll tax is not going to get repealed without your full assistance. Find out where Assemblymen and Senators stand. If they support its repeal, encourage them and support them. If they don't, lobby them and try to change their minds. It will not be easy. There is no magic wand. The MTA tax is not going to be repealed in a soundbite. The actual repeal of this tax requires much hard work from all of us, and will only come with a broader coalition of louder advocates with bold ideas to fix our mass transit system. We have been coalition building. We need to do more. We've been fact-finding. We need to do more. There are various legislative ideas, and we're going to have to coalesce behind one. I will finalize and submit a legislative proposal this legislative session. This process will be done responsibly and hopefully with the support of Speaker Sheldon Silver and the Assembly, because that is the only way that this is going to get repealed legislatively. I need all of you to back us up in this process. I need your help to recruit taxpayers and legislators to our cause. You are our partners in our coalition building efforts. You are partners in our fact-finding efforts, and you will be partners in our legislative efforts. At this time, I want to turn over to Assemblyman Dean Murray for a few remarks.
Thank you, Lee. When I got elected in a special election last February of 2010, I had run on a platform of wanting to get rid of the MTA payroll tax, the unfair, job-killing, unnecessary MTA payroll tax. First piece of legislation I introduced in Albany was to repeal the MTA payroll tax. It didn't go anywhere in the Assembly. This year, we came up again. I've reintroduced the same bill to repeal the MTA payroll tax. The problem is, and listen, we've just gone through the elections. We know who passed it. We know how it got enacted. I'm not here to point fingers or to drag it up again, but there's a fact, and Lee brought it up in his statements. To repeal it now that it's been in place for 2 years, would leave a hole in the budget. And we've got to come up with a way to replace that. Well, that's what they say. That's what we hear. See, I'm not convinced of that. When they enacted that payroll tax, they fed the beast. We have to reach in and grab the bone away from the big dog. The problem is we have to do it wisely. We have to come up with the right solutions. I believe, and I've been saying this since day one, and I need your help to get a hold of the state comptroller. Demand a forensic audit, not just of a portion, but of the entire MTA. And the reason being, we can identify where the waste, fraud, and abuse is. 4 preliminary audits done last year. Every single one of them turned up millions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. One of those was regarding hundreds of millions of dollars of unauthorized overtime, which, of course, was pension padding. We know that, which will cost the taxpayers, again, down the road for years and years to come. They have decided, the state comptroller has agreed, he will do a forensic audit on the overtime. We need it on everything. We need to identify where the waste, fraud, and abuse, and I'm convinced, if we found that much, millions of dollars, just on preliminary audits, how much can we find if we dig deeper? If we do the job, look into the books, identify the problems, fix the problems, and then you know what? We might not need this tax. I don't think we ever needed this tax. Lee's right. We've also got, and our job is, and we've been doing it, Al Graff has been doing it with us up there in the Assembly, we need to build a coalition. Just before leaving Albany last week, I had a lengthy conversation with someone from the other side of the aisle, a Democrat from Westchester. They're also affected by this. He agrees. We're going to put together a coalition. We're going to come forward and we're going to ask the state comptroller to do the job, to do the forensic audit, to get it done, because we're starting to build that coalition. And it's starting to, the wave is starting to roll. It's going to take some time. It's going to take hard work. But I can tell you, speaking for my colleagues here, we pledge we are going to continue to fight, and we're going to do it right, and we will get this done. Thank you very much.